Do you want to push the Armored Core 6 decal system to its limit, and give your mechs a nice gritty paint job more fitting for a war machine? You've come to the right place. I'll teach you how. The Decal System in Armored Core 6 is a powerful tool that allows for a wide range of expression. But have you ever felt or noticed that the decals can sometimes look a little flat when you apply them? There's several reasons for this, but the major issue is that the decals are applied on top of the paint menu's weathering options, which gives the decals a sense that they're just kind of slapped on top of the body, rather than being a cohesive part of the existing paintwork. Cleaner decals are fine if you're going for something that looks more well maintained, but I feel any sort of armoured vehicle or mech with more gritty details is more interesting to look at. The techniques in this guide are fairly simple and are sure to make your ACs just a little more striking. But first, let's go over the decal system. In Armored Core 6, each body part, the head, torso, right arm, left arm, and legs, have 40 decal slots each, giving you a total of 200 decal slots. However, you've also got a global limit of 20 different decals per AC. Essentially, your AC is limited to a pool of 20 different decals across 200 slots. This probably sounds like plenty, but it can somewhat limit the scope of what's possible. Having lots of bespoke details is a challenge, since you'll chew through that 20 global limit rather quickly if you aren't careful. So before you dive in, I suggest having a strong idea of the kind of look you want to achieve while considering the limitations of the system. So with that in mind, there's two ways we can go about weathering our mechs. We can bake the weathering into the decals themselves, and we can have separate weathering decals. Both options have their own merits. If you bake the weathering into the decal, it's very efficient on the decal limit, but the weathering has a tendency to look blurry when sized up. However, this isn't usually an issue unless you're seriously zooming in. Another disadvantage is that the weathering is going to look the same every time you apply the respective decal, but unless you're particularly hawking over the details, you probably won't notice, and especially not during normal gameplay. On the other hand, weathering decals have a lot more freedom in regards to where you can apply the weathering, and can allow for panel lining and streaking effects. However, it can be very inefficient when it comes to the 40 decal per part limit, so you're going to have to be mindful of the kind of look you're trying to pull off and whether the weathering is appropriate or not. I think the easiest way to think of the two options is that baked weathering is good for painted details, like emblems, markings, and colouring, while weathering decals are good for enhancing the mechanical details that are already present on the AC. Weathering a decal is easy. There's a load of paint effects in the Preset 8 tab in the Decal Creation menu. You simply need to apply them on top and select the mask option twice so that it erases parts of the layers underneath. You can mix and match these, or even duplicate the mask layers to adjust the intensity. Like so, pretty simple. Weathering decals are a little more complicated. However, I figured out something that's appropriate for panel lining and streaking effects, so it's very efficient on your 20 global limit. If you have an uneven, splotchy line like this, you can resize it to be narrow enough to fit between panels. Or you can stretch it to create streaking effects or areas where the paint looks distressed. It's very versatile. Here are the IDs for a couple that I made. You may find it necessary to adjust the colours to match your ACs. To get the most out of these, apply them on top of decals going over detail or edge parts of the AC. For instance, the white line here has filled the detail between the panels and they've become lost. So by using this weathering strip, we can add those details back in. The example at the start of this video showcases this decal pushed to the extreme, and I also used an obscene amount of decal slots to pull off, but I'm really happy with how it turned out. You can also use those paint decals I mentioned earlier to also create weathering effects. This can help mitigate the stretching artifacts on a larger decal by layering some smaller weathering decals on top. Simply make it the same colour as the respective part on the AC you want to weather and start going to town. You can also try replicating the weathering on the base paint job to apply over your decals, and this will really make them look a lot more cohesive with the rest of the paint scheme, and as if they were part of the existing texture. Even if you're opting for a more clean AC with largely untarnished decals, it might be worth lowering the opacity on them just so some of that undulating colour and texture can come through a bit and tie everything together. If you're struggling to find ways to add a little more personal details to your AC, find areas with a somewhat consistent shape to them, like these circular panels, and simply fill them in with your chosen colour. It doesn't seem like much, but that little bit of visual interest can add a lot to the overall look of your AC, and those extra hand-placed details will make it feel much more personal. You can even recolour entire sections of a specific part. And that's all there is to it. You can keep it understated, or you can go crazy layering these effects up. I've been treating my builds as if they were kit-bashed model kits, and it's been really fun to be so meticulous over their details. And I hope that this video can help you express yourself to the fullest too. Take care, and thanks for watching.